A warm welcome to all our viewers to our series, Natural Medicine. Today, I'm here with a movement scientist with whom I'd like to discuss why more and more people suffer from knee problems. And what do you do if you have knee problems? You take painkillers or you have to go to the orthopedist. There's an orthopedic operation, a new knee joint and so on. I don't know if we aren't all acting far too quickly and not taking preventative action. And that's what I want to discuss with the movement scientist today. Stay tuned, we'll get started right away. And here we are. And now I introduce you to our guest, that's Karl Müller. Welcome, dear Karl. Well, this is your life, the musculoskeletal system, how it works and what you can do. And I especially want to slide in here. We humans only react when the pain's there. Yeah, pain is the last warning signal, because the whole history of the origin of this pain arises before the pain. Now we talk about knees, hip, back, foot problems, musculoskeletal problems. It actually starts with muscle imbalances, because you're walking on the hard flat floor and because you're sitting way too much. As a result, our joints are inappropriately strained. The pain is then the last thing that happens, and only when we react. If we were to walk barefoot all day long, for example on natural ground, let's imagine walking barefoot in the sand, then the ankles would move completely differently because the muscles are stressed in a completely different way. For example, the shin muscles, barefoot in the sand, you have to lift your foot every time, otherwise you'd fall. And then the foot makes a strong movement. That is, the shins, calves, front thighs, hamstring muscles, all the muscles are balanced in this way. Then on the whole, musculoskeletal system, even abdominal. Well, that was just a wonderful example. I have a treadmill, a very special treadmill without a motor, where I still have to pull the belt back myself. Do you know how sore my muscles are? In the shins and in the back of the calves? Exactly, yeah. Well, that's exactly what you said. Yeah, and muscle imbalances. So, if all these muscles are not in balance, then there's improper load. Now, for example, on your knees, yes, but they only hurt after a few million or tens of millions of hits. If the muscles were constantly balanced, we'd never experience pain at all in the course of our lives. There is proof of this among the primitive peoples who don't have these types of problems at all. So, back problems, knee wear and tear, that doesn't exist there at all. The knees are not built so that at some point they require a spare part, like a car. It doesn't need any spare parts. Knee arthrosis and so on, it's all just programmed because we're moving the wrong way. And here we have a picture of two skeletons walking. Let's look at that now. And we see that the one, if we look at it here, that's actually the walk that is increasingly the case for us people with knee problems these days. We walk on concrete, we can't roll off nicely, and our arms aren't moving anymore, as we can see here. And now there are these problems here at the knees, here, and up here, the third problem, and that would actually be the solution within primitive peoples who just don't walk on concrete, yeah? Yeah, it is. The human, the skeleton on the left, moves like this. These are real skeletons, by the way. These are real people. These aren't just any animations. The person on the left moves like this because their feet walk very powerfully. And this puts pressure on the heel at the back. So heel contact, and then pretension for the muscles, then rolling vigorously. As a result, you can now see on the left how gently the knees are loaded. And on the right, how with every step there's a blow to the knees. In other words, an incorrect load. Because nothing happens at the bottom of the foot because the foot doesn't roll off vigorously. Why doesn't it roll off vigorously? Because its everyday life doesn't demand it at all. The flat, hard bottom combined with a flat sole doesn't challenge the foot. A so-called now I'm missing the word. Retracted foot develops more and more in the course of life because the shin muscles and the calf muscles don't have to work together naturally because the ground is flat. I can just walk passively. You don't stretch your muscles, and that's why you get these blows in your knees. But it's common in our civilized world these days that we walk on concrete and are always exposed to hard floors. So this scenario of this walk is our future. When we're young, we will walk the same way with the highest probability. Yeah, you see it that way. I mean, look at the people on the street. Whether old or young, you just walk passively. There's no pre-tension in the body. That tension throughout the neuromyofascial apparatus, in the muscle fascial apparatus. This tension's missing. That's why man is hunching more and more. When you're younger, maybe you're a little more upright and then you can watch. At age 60, it starts, at 70, 80, you simply fall even further ahead. But the walk pattern is actually the same as on the right and starts at a young age. And when there's pain, well, what do you think of first? I have to go to the doctor. I have to see what that knee looks like on the inside. So, you do a CT scan, computed tomography, or an MRI. You go into the tube and then the doctor finds arthrosis, and something needs to be done soon. For example, if you have inner or outer meniscus problems, then they say it's half an hour surgery on an outpatient basis. It's only minimally invasive. You flatten the cartilage a bit, and then everything's fine again. This is totally the wrong way. You don't even think about it. Where does the cause come from? And actually, you should work on the cause, because if you do something there, first of all, even if it's minimally invasive, you cut through the entire fascial layer, which sticks together, which scars, and then that doesn't make you any more flexible. No, it makes you more immobile, and the immobility is the other factor in old age, the big problem. But yeah, you let yourself go under the knife and you don't even know the alternative. Of course not, but that's not known either, and we're not trained or informed about it. It's just normal for us to walk on concrete. But I've been having some fun recently, and I still had this picture in my head. I'll show it again now. Just look at the arms. You see, here there's an arm movement, and here there isn't at all. And with this picture in mind, we made fun of it on a Sunday at the bottom of Lake Constance from 100 people who came towards us while walking. And what do you think? How many out of 100 people had a back and forth arm motion? When people walk faster, there is more of a slight arm swing. Well, they walked, Almost no one. Yeah, there were 24 out of 100 who actually had an arm swing. Then you'd have to look at how old they are, more likely the young ones who still swung their arms, and then consider the walking speed. And of course, whether you carry something or not is also an influence. But the passive walking, resulting in a blockage in the shoulders, and the reactive arm swing, it starts with the feet. It has something to do with the feet not working vigorously. There are people who naturally, probably out of the genes, work harder with the feet. The forces belong in the feet as with the car, drive wheel, down there, the power's transmitted. But there are very few people who do it intuitively and therefore have a certain body tension. It just needs the body tension from bottom to top so that the arm begins to swing. Otherwise, at each joint, if the body tension in the muscle fascia is not there, if it's missing, it's cut off at each joint. You can see that the hip joint is already being cut off. Then, as the pelvis goes down, these forces, these tensions are no longer passed on. They're not forwarded in the neck. And this knee-blowing posture is the result of that. I didn't see it with everyone that they were much further forward with the hips back, the head forward again. But if your arms don't swing, that's an indication that the whole musculoskeletal system gets hit hard, right? Yeah. You can see it in the pelvis position, you can see it in the arm swing, you can see it in the head position. At various points, one can see how heavily the knees are loaded, and also the hips, of course. So in summary, when we see that we're walking like this, actually as a result at some point we will also have knee pain and then have to live through these orthopedic stories. We don't want that. That means prevention would be ideal. And here, there's this resilience in the area of the soles which give me the feeling of walking on a trampoline, or walking in the sand by the sea. And so I'd immediately have the other walk again. Is that correct? Like, I really only have to do one thing. This hard, flat ground I need to soften. Soften is dangerous. If the hard ground were very soft, that it even cushions the blows, then it provokes even more passivity. It must be elastically springy. That hard, flat ground needs to be turned into a springy ground. You know, it's like that in gyms, like mats that spring back, or the floor in gymnastics and such. Springs softly. Then there are also springy mats that you can inflate. When you walk there, you automatically walk differently. If you walk on elastic, springy material, then suddenly the feet start to work. You don't have to think about anything. And when the feet work hard, this is a special case there, then the whole course changes. The walk then becomes more symmetrical. For someone who's limping, it becomes more symmetrical. You become more stable. One thinks when one walks on a soft elastic material, then you become more unstable. But actually you become more stable. Well, let's look at that again in detail. Here with the example of a person who really has walking problems. And now he's walking on a mat, like in the gym, like you said. And first, very disabled, and then, well, there's a bit of a lag here. Now you see him there, you see him... No, it's lagging again. Somehow the video freezes, but you can see that on the right. First of all, he puts the cane down. And then, because this mat is soft and elastic springy, like there, actually it's exactly like that, he walks symmetrically. So he's limping less and he doesn't need the cane anymore. He walks more confidently. Why is he more confident walking on something unstable? Because the feet work. Because the feet stabilize people. Yeah. Actually, you don't have to do anything, and that's also the simplest therapy. Also, not so dangerous and causal if you suddenly let your feet do the work, as we saw before with the skeletons. But when the feet work, body tension enters the entire neuromyofascial or muscle fascia apparatus. This body tension, the tensing of the muscles, protects the joints. You don't have to do anything else. Then the pain goes away. Are our feet locked up for life and can't perform their function properly? Well, that's the problem. To cushion the entire musculoskeletal system over all the little bones, I think that's 52 bones or what in the ankle? About 30 bones and muscles, both about 30. And these are so spoilt by the flat, hard bottom that they no longer work. And when feet aren't working, that's a sign the muscles aren't working. And if the muscles don't work, don't tense, then they can't use the function of joint protection. Don't exercise this shock absorber function for the knee joints at all. And that's where the problems arise. When you're struggling, the pain's there. And try this walking. At the beginning, it's important that you do it correctly, that you know how. But that takes 10 minutes. In most cases, the pain goes away in 10 minutes. Then the topic of surgery is no longer an issue. I've also experienced many people already have artificial knee joint operations, had appointments and cancelled appointments, and have been pain-free for many years because you work at the cause. That's incredible. If I understand correctly, I still like to talk about prevention. So when I go back to this picture again, walk like here with this resilience, this soft behaviour, the foot has to work, it has to balance everything, and the arm swing comes immediately, doesn't it? The body compensates. Then I have the best health prevention. Yeah, of course. Even when walking slowly, the swing of the arm comes because the tension is there. And of course, prevention would be best. No knee pain, no hip problems, and also these neck problems, which occur more frequently, would simply be off the table. Well, if you look at the muscles, the muscle fascia are constantly in motion. They cannot stick together. If they don't stick, well, there's no pain. But who does that preventatively? Well, my children, for example, after I explained it to them, I noticed that, and I don't know about them now. But you might know better if that's of any use. Yeah, one of the daughters had been walking in Zurich for 10 hours with friends without those trampoline shoes. And she said, "Father, that was my last time. I'll never do that again. I had to sit from bench to bench and keep my feet up." Well, that's no longer the case here. You can walk indefinitely. Now, here we've another picture again next to the mat. And with the mat, and you immediately see this upright walk, which is ultimately the beginning to healing. And there's been no training in between. This happened suddenly. And in most cases, the knee pain goes away immediately. I have to say, first of all, in some cases, they don't go away entirely. I've always experienced pain reduction when walking correctly. You have to practice that a bit. These shin muscles aren't used to it. to create tension to lift the foot. And you have to learn a little bit. It takes about 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes it works in almost all cases. Well, you can say our appeal would be, if people are in pain, before you go into the operation, as a last resort or last option, it would make sense to just go to a specialist shop and test it to see whether it immediately positively affects you and you react to a working foot. And this means that the joint apparatus becomes painless, or there's a tendency towards it, so that you could delay these surgeries. Well, we go one step further. After all, we don't want customers who are dissatisfied to buy expensive shoes and then say afterwards it was no use. That's why we offer the possibility to try our soft elastic springy trampoline shoes for 2 weeks for 30 francs or 25 euros. Try them for 2 weeks. So you can look for 2 weeks what goes on there, and then you can decide freely. Then you can give them back. The risk is then 30 francs or 25 euros. It's very important to us because we don't just want to claim something which then doesn't help anyone, neither the customer or us. And that's why there are also these possibilities on the internet. Well, in Switzerland, I've already seen it in the pharmacy. In one corner, there's a lot of choice, and there is great advice, and you can really test and try it out in the pharmacy and start first attempts at walking. That will certainly be the same in Germany. Well, you can take your first steps in a shop, of course. And you can also rent them in the shop. If you're not yet completely convinced, or are convinced, but perhaps ask yourself how things will be tomorrow and the day after, is it still of any use? Then you can try it risk-free for 2 weeks. It's really easy. If you knew you could prevent or avoid suffering until it happens at all. I went skiing yesterday, and on the ski lift, the main topic of the other people was these are 6-seater armchairs, and I was alone. And every second time, the topic of discussion was knee pain. One was even a doctor sitting next to me on the left, and they discussed knee surgery. But they only talked about the topic of surgery, and I think it's such a shame. Where is the lobby behind it? There's a reason that we have so many problems in the musculoskeletal system. I don't see a lobby. The lobby that I see is more of the last resort from a medical point of view, where, of course, you advertise and say, hello, we have artificial joints, no problem, but I prefer to keep my own joint. And I think the viewer probably feels the same way. If we knew what's causing this musculoskeletal system to suffer, we would all change it early on. Yeah, and it's a huge business. In Switzerland and Germany too, 20% of healthcare costs go into orthopedic surgeries. 20%. That's 10 billion in Switzerland, if I'm not wrong, that are spent on it. I have to be a bit careful what I say now. Let's leave the numbers out. But it's 20%. It's the biggest item. So more money is spent on orthopedic surgery than on cancer. I know that for sure. Well, there's also an ignorance. I recently met a lady, an elderly lady, 75, had to go for hip surgery again. And I said she should just try what I just heard from you. But no, not interested. Didn't even want to try it. Didn't feel like it. The doctor told me I had to have a hip joint now. I have to, yes. My doctor said I have to. And that is something very special that we believe in, academic medicine, so much. That's really a problem, and that you don't even try the alternatives. Well, I will say they do it well, but in the cause here, I can also resolve the cause and, well, the effect's gone. Well, exactly. Well, there are definitely good things. You can even get a cortisone shot when it's really bad, but only to break the vicious circle and release blockages, tension and pain. But afterwards you have to, or at the same time you have to get to the cause. If you don't get to the root cause and only operate all the time, then one operation will just follow another, and first the knee on the left, then the knee on the right, then hip on the left, then the back, and by the time you're 80, you're on a walker. That's a terrible tendency. And now, for the viewers who would like to know more about what exactly we're talking about the technology, how it was built, what it looks like, and so on, is there any platform that you could recommend me right now where the viewers can look and get more information? Yeah, we are shoe manufacturers. When entering Kibun, that's K-Y-B-U-N, or Joya, that's J-O-Y-A, then you'll find all the information. We are shoe manufacturers. We produce shoes in Switzerland and Italy with elastic, springy, trampoline-like materials. But our biggest concern is the mode of action, the solution against musculoskeletal problems, back, hips, knees. And if you look there, you'll also find a lot of scientific information about the background. Which problem comes up where, what the solution looks like, which exercises we recommend. In addition, it's still very important that you also do exercises. Our shoes alone aren't the solution, or at least are a first solution to take a big step forward in almost all cases. But if I want to be as agile again, as I used to be as a child, or even as a toddler, I work on it every day. I bring my feet back behind my head and so on. Then, of course, you have more, and then there are almost no limits to success. And all these things can be found on the Kibun or Joya website. Well, thank you very much. That was Karl Müller for you. Dear viewers, I hope we're able to convey a very important preventative program to you today, that if you have problems with your knees, with your hips, with your back, that you can balance it all with your feet. And better to react naturally before the horse is bolted. To test that now and to see how the entire musculoskeletal system really acts on such springy soles, and how you stand upright, and how you suddenly move their arms and how you feel about it, I can only recommend just trying it out, getting a feel for how you can handle it. And especially a great blessing for me when I'm that one or the other person, but there's now pain-free and can walk without surgery just by wearing such miracle shoes. I can just say that. I wish you all the best. See you next time. Bye-bye.